The first thing I heard after waking from surgery was the steady beeping of a heart monitor. The second was my phone vibrating on the bedside table. I reached for it slowly, every movement reminding me of the emergency operation I had undergone only hours earlier. My name is Rachel Lawson. I was 39 years old, a senior accountant, married for 12 years, mother to our 10-year-old daughter, Chloe. 3 days earlier, I had collapsed at work after ignoring severe stomach pain for nearly a week. Like so many working mothers, I kept telling myself I would deal with it tomorrow. Tomorrow almost never came. My appendix ruptured during a meeting. An ambulance rushed me to the hospital. The surgeon later told me another hour could have cost me my life. When I finally unlocked my phone, dozens of missed messages appeared. Coworkers, friends, my sister. Then a banking notification caught my attention. Transaction approved, Ocean Majesty Luxury Cruises. Amount, $18,742.16. I frowned. That couldn't be right. I opened the banking app. The payment had been processed only 2 hours earlier. While I was still recovering from anesthesia, there had to be some mistake. I immediately called my husband, Brian. He answered after several rings. "Hey, babe." His voice sounded relaxed, almost cheerful. "How are you feeling?" I skipped the small talk. "Brian, did you charge nearly $19,000 to my credit card?" Silence. Then a casual sigh. "Yeah, I meant to tell you." For several seconds, I genuinely believed he was joking. "You spent $19,000? It wasn't just me. My parents wanted everyone to go." "Go where?" "The cruise." I looked around my hospital room. For tubes, medication pumps, fresh stitches across my abdomen. "I'm in the hospital." "I know. But we had to book before prices increased." I stared at the wall. "You used my inheritance. It's family money." "No. My grandmother left it specifically for Chloe's future. My mother-in-law, Linda, loved expensive vacations. She simply preferred that someone else pay for them. This wasn't the first time she'd treated my savings like family property. Over the years, she'd pressured Brian into borrowing money for home renovations, luxury furniture, designer handbags. Every loan somehow became my responsibility because Brian's credit wasn't strong enough. Each time, I reluctantly agreed to keep peace in the family. Each time, I was promised repayment. Almost none of it ever returned. Money my grandmother had spent decades saving. I quietly ended the call. Moments later, my phone buzzed again. The Brooks family group chat. Linda had uploaded a cheerful photograph. Everyone stood around the dining table holding colorful cruise brochures. Brian smiled proudly. Chloe looked confused, but happy simply because everyone else was smiling. The caption read, "Vacation of a lifetime. Thanks to Brian for making our dreams come true." Dozens of heart emojis followed. One comment from Brian's brother caught my attention. "Rachel never lets Brian spend money. Good thing he finally took charge." Another read, "She'll calm down once she's home." I couldn't believe what I was reading. Not one person asked how my surgery had gone. Not one person wondered whether I was recovering. To them, I wasn't lying in intensive care. I was merely the bank account that hadn't objected quickly enough. An elderly woman recovering in the neighboring bed quietly watched my expression. "Bad news." I nodded. "My husband spent my daughter's college fund while I was unconscious." She looked genuinely shocked. "Does he have access to your accounts?" "Only the emergency credit card." She thought for a moment, then smiled gently. "My late husband used to say something. When someone shows you exactly who they are, believe them the first time." That afternoon my doctor entered. "You'll probably remain here another 48 hours. I nodded absently. As soon as he left, I contacted my bank. The representative listened carefully, then asked one important question. "Mrs. Lawson, did you personally authorize this transaction?" "No." "Did anyone have permission to use your card for this purchase?" "No." The representative became very serious. "In that case, we're opening a fraud investigation immediately." At that exact moment, another notification appeared. Not one transaction. 3. Luxury spa packages. Private excursion upgrades. Premium beverage packages. The total had climbed past $22,000. Someone wasn't just enjoying my money. They were still spending it. And buried within the payment history was one additional purchase made only 30 minutes earlier. To a jewelry boutique at the cruise terminal. A purchase that proved my husband hadn't simply stolen my inheritance. He had been planning a surprise that was never meant for me. The jewelry purchase kept replaying in my mind. Harbor Jewelers, for $1,980. Almost $5,000. Charged to my emergency credit card while I lay in a hospital bed recovering from surgery. At first, I tried to convince myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. Maybe Brian had bought something for Chloe. Maybe it was a mistake. Then the bank investigator called. "Mrs. Lawson, we've confirmed the purchase. Would you like the item description?" "Yes." There was a brief pause. A diamond necklace. My heart sank. Our wedding anniversary wasn't for another 6 months. My birthday had already passed. And even if it had been for me, I wasn't on the cruise. Who was the necklace for? That evening, my younger sister, Megan, came to visit. She hugged me carefully, avoiding my bandages. I saw the family group chat. "I'm so sorry." I handed her my phone. "They're still spending money." She scrolled through the charges. Her expression darkened. This isn't just selfish. It's deliberate. The next morning, the bank's fraud department contacted me again. They had frozen my accounts and stopped several pending transactions. Because the purchases had been made without my authorization while I was hospitalized, they advised me to file a police report and begin the legal process to dispute the charges. When Brian finally called, his tone had changed. "Rachel, the cruise company says the payment didn't go through. I wonder why." He sighed. "You embarrassed my whole family." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Embarrassed them? "You stole from me." "It wasn't stealing. We're married." I took a slow breath. "Brian, I was unconscious. You never asked. You took money my grandmother left for Chloe. And you're upset because your vacation was canceled?" Silence. Then he muttered, "You've always been dramatic." That sentence ended something inside me. Not with anger. With clarity. After I was discharged from the hospital, I met with an attorney. Because the inheritance account had been left to me alone and intended for Chloe's education, the lawyer explained that Brian had no automatic right to use those funds without my permission. The bank's investigation moved quickly. Security footage from the travel agency and cruise terminal showed Brian presenting my credit card while cheerfully signing the receipts. He never attempted to contact me. He never mentioned that I was in the hospital. The evidence was overwhelming. Within weeks, nearly every unauthorized charge was reversed. The cruise booking was canceled. The jewelry purchase was refunded. The remaining expenses became Brian's personal responsibility. His parents were furious. Not at him. At me. Linda called repeatedly. "You've ruined this family." I answered calmly. "No. The person who stole from me did that." Then I blocked her number. A month later, Brian asked to meet. We sat in a quiet coffee shop. He looked exhausted. "I never thought you'd actually leave." I looked at him for a long moment. "You never thought I'd choose myself." He lowered his eyes. "I made a terrible mistake." "Yes. I want another chance." I shook my head gently. "The worst part wasn't the money. It was that while I was fighting for my life, your biggest concern was making sure you didn't miss a vacation." He had no answer. 6 months later, our divorce was finalized. It wasn't easy, but it was peaceful. Chloe stayed with me most of the time and spent scheduled weekends with her father. To his credit, Brian eventually admitted his actions to her in an age-appropriate way and apologized. Trust wasn't rebuilt overnight, but honesty became the first step. The inheritance money remained safely invested for Chloe's education. I also created a separate emergency savings account in my own name. No one else had access. A year later, Chloe and I finally took a trip together. Not on a luxury cruise. Just a quiet week at a small lakeside cabin. We rented bicycles, roasted marshmallows, watched the stars from a wooden dock. One evening, Chloe leaned against my shoulder. "Mom." "Yes." "Was this the vacation Grandma would have wanted us to have?" I smiled through tears. "I think so." "Why?" "Because nobody had to hurt someone else to make it happen." She nodded thoughtfully. "I like this better." "So do I." Years later, when Chloe graduated from college using the very fund her great-grandmother had left for her, she gave a short speech. She thanked her teachers, her friends. Then she looked at me. "My mom taught me that love never asks you to sacrifice your dignity. It protects it." Those words meant more than any cruise ship ever could. Looking back, I no longer think the hospital was the place where my life fell apart. It was the place where I finally saw the truth. Sometimes the greatest healing doesn't begin when the stitches come out. It begins the moment you stop making excuses for people who repeatedly choose themselves over you. My husband thought I was asleep while he spent my future. Instead, I woke up. And waking up changed everything.